Good evening. Welcome back to Conversations at the Park. We're happy to have you guys here with us tonight. If you've been tuning in with us the past few weeks, you know we've been having our ministers here at the Park Church of Christ here in Tulsa just talk to each other about a variety of different topics, about worship, about our kids, just about different stories that have been going on during this time of pandemic and quarantine and how it's impacted our church. Well, tonight I'm excited to take a small pivot into having some discussion with some of the missionaries that we support as a part of the Park Church here in Tulsa. And so tonight's conversation, I'm really excited, is going to be with Ron and Lori Clark, missionaries that we support in Portland, Oregon. And Ron and Lori had been with the Agape Church of Christ for a long time in downtown Portland, and they have just recently made a transition. Ron has taken the job of the executive director of Kairos Church Planting, which is a great organization that plants churches all over the country. It's a great organization that Ron's been put in charge of. And so we're prayerful for him and excited for him. We're still going to support him as they do that. And Lori is a teacher there in Portland, so prayers for her as well. But I'm excited about tonight's conversation with Ron and Lori Clark. Hope you guys enjoy tonight's edition of Conversations at the Park.
Let me tell you, please let me tell you.
Well, Ron Clark, we're here with you. It is a bit of a rainy day here in Tulsa. It looks like a beautiful day there in Portland. How are things with you guys today? What's going on with you guys today?
We've been doing our Agape Blitz. A lot of you all have come out to work at Agape Village. We're trying to finish it up this year, and so we got that going on this week in the midst of the heat. It's been difficult because with the COVID-19, a lot of groups have had to back out. We've had groups across the country not able to come, so we're working with a very small group,
including ours, which I'm sad to be a part of that.
Yeah, I understand. We understand. You know, it's funny. Nobody's complaining. We understand, and we're just trying to do what we can, the best we can. So that's where we are right now. Of course, since a lot of you know me from Agape Church of Christ, but March 1st, I became the executive director of Kairos Church Planting, which was the organization that trained us to plant Agape.
Yeah, so it's been a big transition for you guys. Tell us just for a second, just tell us a little bit about who Kairos is. I've known about Kairos for a long time. Great
organization.
Tell us about Kairos and what they do.
Kairos Church Planting,
I guess.
Yeah, it began about 16 years ago. Stan Granberg and Gina. Stan was a professor here at Cascade College, and they had been missionaries in Kenya with a lot of back in the Kenyan explosion that happened with Churches of Christ. And they felt like they could do that here in the United States. And we were their third church plant. But basically, Kairos, we train and mentor and recruit new people to plant churches. I was one of those old guys that decided to join. And Park Plaza has been with us from day one as we planted Agape. But March 1st is when I started. 2 weeks later, we were full-blown pandemic and everything shutting down.
Wow.
And so we've actually been doing two things. Number one, I use Zoom a lot, and I'm working with our planters in getting them to find a way to do ministry in the midst of what's happened. And I tell them, we can't go through the virus, we're going to go around it. And so they've come up with amazing, ways digitally. Now some of them are doing face-to-face, but they've got those two components. And the other thing that we're doing is we actually have young people who are either wanting to start campus ministries or get into church planting. And so we're switching our assessment labs that have always been face-to-face and, a whole week with people. We're switching them now to be online.
Yeah.
And we're going to do online discovery and strategy assessments. So we've been working a lot at using the digital component, and then we recognize when the new normal happens, we're going to have both online and face to face. And so we've been doing a lot of that. My gift was more speaking, and I told God, when I started, I said my weakness is administration and fundraising, and lo and behold, that's what God's been making me do the last few months. And yeah, we got the CARES Act. So first thing I did was make sure everybody's taken care of. So all of our planners, our staff have been cared for. And I just, that was coming in as a minister. I've got a heart for taking care of people, and that's been a lot of fun. So that's what we're doing. Lori's teaching, but teachers were furloughed for the summer. And so she's not with us today. They're listening to the governor's talk about the new fall and what's going to happen. Caleb's 15. He just got his driver's permit. Hunter's 17, working in a grocery store, getting the hazard pay. And then Nathan and his wife, Nyla, they work for the county commissioner. So he's embroiled in all of this city politics that's going on in downtown Portland.
Yeah, and city politics in Portland is different from a lot of other places. So that's good for him for being right in the middle of that.
Yeah, I've got some brothers and sisters who are police officers, and then we've worked with a lot of the protest groups in the past, and so it's really it's messy, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I just pray for a lot of people and just try to be there to listen. But
well, so for those that might be tuning in here that have been a part of the Agape Village, how many people do you have living out there right now?
Right now we have 4, and we actually had we opened in January. We already had 5 transition out.
Wow.
And one got expelled, believe it or not.
Sure.
So we're down. So they're down to 4. We have 15 open. Because of the virus, we have to do a 2-week quarantine. So when somebody comes in, it's got to be 2 weeks. So we can bring in 2 people, and then we have to quarantine them for 2 weeks before we bring in 2 others. We're also finding out a lot of the homeless individuals are feeling more comfortable downtown on the streets, and because they can socially distance. So that's another factor that's hurting us on that.
Sure. Well, and we want to hear about your work and what you guys are doing, but we also, a lot of us just know and love you guys. So how is your family doing in the midst of all this? You shared a little bit about your kids. How are you and Lori? Are you guys healthy?
Lori's here now.
Lori's joining us. Oh, good.
She got off of the thing.
Hello, Lori.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm so glad to see you guys. It's great to be with you guys. I understand you're hearing what the governor had to say about the schools and all that, which is incredibly important stuff. We're doing a lot of that around here as well.
But I'm still confused. I don't know what we're doing.
I think that's kind of par for the course for us all. We're all getting through this together. But yeah, just asking Ron, it's a good time for you guys to step in. We'd love to know just how are you guys in the midst of, transition, and then the world turns upside down, and now here we are. Are you guys healthy? And just how are you guys doing, just personally?
I've already been talking.
Oh, we're health-wise, we're doing great. The more I think about starting back at school with the kids and stuff, I'm a little apprehensive, but we'll work those out. Yeah. It'll be nice to work again. It's just probably like everyone else, our new normal it's just really thrown us for a loop. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well,
yeah, I think that, we have a backyard in our house. I mean, there's a lot of, and our older son, he and his wife are in an apartment. So I know it's a lot harder for them. And our boys, football, wrestling are probably going to be out.
Yeah.
So I think they're kind of a little discouraged about that. They get to see their friends somewhat, but I think emotionally we're okay. But you're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
People a lot worse off than us.
Yeah. Well, such a great perspective, but yeah, it's just weird, isn't it?
It is.
And we
It
don't
is.
all know exactly what we can do or should do or when it's going to change. And
Right.
so whenever the light at the end of the tunnel starts to show up and things start to get back to normal, that'll be great news. But until then, we're all kind of hunkered down in the middle of this, and we just want you guys to know, as a church who supports you guys in lots of ways, and first and foremost of that is our prayers and our love for just you guys as people, not just a name on a piece of paper of missionaries we support, but as Ron and Lori, we love you guys, and
Oh.
we want you to know that we stand with you and pray for you. And even though we can't come be with you this summer, a picture showed up on my timeline the other day, of my daughter 1 year ago standing on a dirt pile next to a shovel in Agape Village. And just, it did my heart a lot of good and a lot of sadness at the same time.
Stuff is
But
all this
the rocks are
and
still
all
there.
of the pots that you guys painted.
Pots.
It looked great. We need to take pictures and send you guys, because
we would love that.
I was, all my memories are popping up, and it's not the same. This has been a weird summer, and our group canceled, our last group from Medford. And that one made me about lose it, because I'm like, I am really, this has been our summers for 10 years. And I have missed having people in our yard. I mean, like, we feed our neighbors, because I miss that.
Yeah, let me be around and help somebody. Yeah.
I like hospitality, and I'm just
well, and you're great at it.
Have people in the backyard, a few, or so. But we'd have, and I had a picture of her come up, and I was like, oh, they were all playing up when we were cooking, and I was like, oh, I miss them all.
Yeah. Well, we certainly miss you guys, but stand with you nonetheless.
We know.
Just love you guys so much. Something that we haven't talked a whole lot about with you guys, we know you do a whole lot of work. When you guys were in the official capacity with Agape, you did a lot of work with the homeless downtown, but also with some of the homeless shelters that were going up around. But you guys have also done a whole lot of work in the area of domestic violence, and you guys speak to people all over the country, if not farther than that, about domestic violence, and so that's one of the things, in light of the pandemic, that people are thinking about more, as maybe things are worse now in some aspects in that arena than they were before. Maybe in the area of domestic violence and things that are in that same sort of category. What are you guys hearing and seeing? What do you guys know? What insights do you guys have that would be helpful? There's a lot of different ways we can talk about this, but what would be some helpful things for the church to know about, that we can be aware and be prayerful, and even active in ways to help support and guide and help heal and be attentive to that arena of things going on?
I know one area, at least up in our area, is a lot of the shelters have closed. So that's put a big dent in, I think, people even trying to get help. I've sent a few people, I've given them numbers to call. So I think that if people really are right now, it's been a roadblock. I think a few are opening up, but I know that one of the main places that we always use that they completely shut down
Yeah.
for a while, and
Mm.
I'm not even sure. We're still in a weird phase. I don't even know what phase we're in, but so we I don't even know if they've opened back up. So for me, it's been a roadblock to try to get people where they need to go. A few of the women I've talked to, or somebody's, given me a name, or I had a lady call me about resources for a divorce lawyer, or she was wanting to leave, and the numbers I gave her, they weren't even helping or meeting with people right now.
Mm.
So that's been a roadblock for me. I don't know what you've seen or.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Lori said, the resources, access to resources are limited. There's a lot of statistics that are saying domestic violence, intimate partner violence has increased, but I don't know that we really have any hard data on that. We would assume that just because the women are isolated, men and women are isolated. So when we've done trainings with our church planners online, we talk about following up, staying connected, making sure that those you think might be in an abusive relationship have a resource. That's one of the things for churches. Second thing is, so we just finished an online Bible narratives group with women who've left prostitution.
Mm.
And we're finding, and the two things we found out with them was, number one, their resources are limited, but also churches aren't welcoming to a lot of the women when they find out what they've done in the past. And we're seeing this with domestic violence. The Black Lives Matter movement has been really hitting how Black women are treated by their churches um, in domestic violence.
Mm.
And so we're seeing, and then we've done, I just got up, one of my books was translated to Russian. So talking with a Russian advocate last week, there same issues. We have individuals in very, very conservative churches who are now isolated, and they're being further isolated and told, you have to stay and submit, type of thing. So what we try to do is we stay connected, and we recognize that we call it bad theology. And when we teach places, we always talk about bad theology keeps people in bad relationships. And that's one of the things that we have to do is we have to ask, does God want people to be physically abused and oppressed and mistreated and called horrible names? And does Jesus want the church to be open to where we defend the victims and hold offenders accountable? And again, same thing with our batters. They have no groups, unless they're online.
That's right.
If resources are limited, as a church, what we can do is fill that, get in, stay connected, hold them accountable, help people repent, change their ways, help individuals to be safe, and recognize that even those in different ethnicities are facing not just, access to resources, but, the churches are telling them that, this is God's will for you to submit and work through that.
Mm.
So that's kind of been what we've been doing over the years in our writing. So that's what my phone sounds like.
I thought it was Ron's.
So,
well, thank you for that.
and I want to add too, I'm sorry, but the scary thing is with, like in Portland with the protests, so now we have limited, call times and limited officers to get to people in domestic violence. So a lot of them are not going to reach out for help, and that's a concern. So this is a great time for churches and ministers to get involved, leaders to get involved and stand up for people.
So there's two ways I can see that going. One is someone in a relationship gets to the point where they're ready to reach out and ask for help. And the other is maybe somebody noticing something and maybe asking a question that prompts something to open up. Um, what are some easy there's probably nothing about this that's easy, but what are some kind of low level questions you can ask and things to be looking for to be able to spot if there may be some trouble kind of behind the scenes? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I was in Starbucks a few years ago, and there was a lady that was just talking and waiting to get coffee, and she said something about, "Oh, I got to hurry and get this home, or I'll be in trouble if I don't do this." And I just said, "Are you okay? Are you safe?" And she kind of stopped and she said, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I'm fine. It's just I'm gonna get myself in trouble." And I said, "Okay." And I said, "But if you weren't safe, would you feel okay saying something about it?" And she thanked me and said, "Yes, I would." And I think one thing, I think whenever we feel someone, we get that vibe. I think that sometimes the spirit tells us, "Hey, something's wrong." I think it's okay to say, "Are you okay? Are you safe?" We don't have to rescue people. We just listen to them. They may tell you, and you may never see them again, but letting them know, "Hey, that's not normal. It's not normal for you to be afraid to
Yeah.
go home with your spouse or your partner or whoever, or your kids or your parents. And I'm here to listen." And or "Oh, I'm worried for you. Oh, you okay?" Because that's not good. That's not what God wants for you. God wants you to be safe. And I think one way, low level way, is to at least introduce to them that they can say, "Hey, somebody else is telling me that's not right." Because the oppressor is always telling them, people are crazy. They want to split you up. You're stupid. You don't understand. I'm the one. And they need to hear from someone else that if you're not safe, I'm here to listen to you. That's one
Yeah.
way.
Um, and I always say, um, especially in a church setting, I've always told, especially women, if somebody says something and then they're like, "Never mind," it's okay to say, I'm not going to judge you. Just tell me, what are you thinking?" I'm the biggest thing for me is just taking a listening stance. I
Yeah.
listen and I'll believe you. I mean, you don't have to convince me, because then that's when the stories, they'll throw a year's worth of stories on you and you go, "Oh." So I'm always tell people, I believe you.
Mm.
It's not up to me to see if you're lying or not. I'll listen to you. I'll believe you. I'm sorry that's happening to you. And it just puts people at ease. I always figure if somebody's going to confide, they're going to do it, and it's probably going to be not your best friend. It's going to be, people would rather tell a stranger. I mean, I've
Mm.
had people tell me stuff. I've been like, "You don't even know me," but it's that whole, you kind of pray for, the spirit to work, and that's how the spirit works a lot of times. And so I've always found out it's not who I think it is. It's always the people. I had a coworker one time, and she always, in hers was, it was physical. I mean, I still think it is. She denies it, but she had a weird accidents at home, weird. And she was always saying, "I got to go home. I got to get home." And I don't work with her anymore, but I still, to this day, and she knows she can talk to me. She'll every once in a while, but she may never leave. She may just want to tell you how it is. And I think that's important too. You're not going to get the people to leave, but at least you can be a safe spot for them
Mm.
to share. It isn't up to me. I can't fix it. I can't make them leave.
Yeah.
It's out of my control. It's
Yeah.
not about control, but I think it's being a listener, having the
Yeah.
spirit of listening. And
Yeah.
so,
Wow. Well, and two things I hear from you guys is one, domestic violence may be happening in places you don't expect. So we all would like to think it's not present in our church. We don't have anybody here that struggles with that, where the chances are, the likelihood is
right.
um, that we very well might. And what I also hear, this seems kind of strange, is that loving people first is the answer. Is that kind of what we're?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
think?
Well, yeah. No, I mean, I think that's
That's hard.
so good because it's hard. Um,
Yeah.
but thinking we have the right answer right away is also difficult and difficult
Exactly. Yeah.
to pinpoint what the answer even should be and when to share it
Yeah.
and if to share. You know, there's
Yeah.
going into the stance of I'm going to listen to you because I love you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a story I tell a lot to my students, that a seminary, I'm not going to say where, had me come out and talk and teach the students, and then there was an African American women's group. It was huge in that city that had, and so they did a joint domestic violence training. And I'd known the dean for a while, and we spent the whole day together. So that at the last session, his wife showed up, and she was from Ukraine, and she came over to me and introduced herself. And he said, "Oh yeah, I didn't tell you I had a wife, you know." And okay, so I talked with her, and then after the session, he was going to get the car to pick her up, and she grabbed me and was crying, and she just said, "I want you to know, I hope my husband listened to you. He is so inattentive. He is so mean. He is everything you were talking about, and he needs to listen. And I hope he heard what you said." And I didn't know what to say. I mean, first, I didn't like the guy because he was cheap. It's terrible, I know, but he kind of bothered me, rubbed me wrong. But hearing her, I was like, I said, "Can I pray for you?" And she said, "Yeah." And then she stopped crying. She said, "Thank you. I just needed to get it off my chest." And then he comes over and he goes, "Oh, let's go, honey." And he goes, "Oh, wish we had the money to pay you an honorarium, but too bad. Bye." And I was like, But I mean, it didn't help my feelings about him. But, I tell my students, I didn't know what to do at that time, because I couldn't help her. But she said, I just needed to get it off my chest. And, in Exodus 4:31, when Moses goes to the people and tells them that God was concerned about, pakad in the Hebrew, was concerned about them, they were able to worship. And I think if we just listen, and victims know that we hear them, we validate them, we accept what they're saying, and we may never see them again, but somehow they're able to say, okay, I got it off my chest. Maybe down the road they'll get help. But knowing that you heard them is sometimes the best thing, the only thing you can do.
And there is certainly a time and a place for what the next step should be.
Exactly.
And who needs to change, and really pinning down what's going on and how do we need to respond to that. There's certainly a time and a place, but I love the fact, and I want everybody to hear, love people first, listen to them first, and that's going to open up all the doors that are necessary that need to be walked through. So
Exactly.
man, I appreciate so much what you guys are doing. And that's just one angle to look at of what's been going on in our world, and things that we want the church to be aware of and attentive to. But there's certainly lots of other things. Let me ask just a couple questions that will kind of lead us into some closing thoughts here. Just for the two of you, where have you seen God recently?
I've actually, Sundays are hard for us. I mean, I went from preaching for 30 some years, and we're just watching it on TV. Although last Sunday was the first face-to-face. But God has been working during the week. We see God working in the week and the opportunities to help. And we've seen God doing some tremendous work through ministers, church planners during the week. So, okay, we kind of lost Sunday morning, but we've got, Monday through Saturday. So we've seen God work in a lot of ways in people's lives, and just in the work that we do, the response we get, that's been one way, I think.
And the church plants had, been kind of struggling. Sorry, it's an airplane.
I remember the
having
airplanes going over your house. Yeah.
having struggled maybe connecting and studying with people. And what had there been? 4 baptisms
Yeah.
in the last just couple weeks around the country, just in the small church plants,
Wow.
because they're being able to kind of connect more intimately, like if they're just meeting up for a socially distance or so. I actually see that a lot more.
Mm.
We've been downtown visiting a lot of our homeless people that were at Agape, and a lot of them are just I mean, they've chosen to stay. They could have gone to the village. So the ones that we meet up with have chosen to stay where they're at. But they just talk about how they've just felt overly blessed that they've seen God working. One guy opened his tent and he like had a pantry of stuff in there. I mean, he's just like, I've just been overly blessed. And so I don't know. I've just seen people that haven't normally stepped up, kind of stepping up and going above and beyond. And
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, that's perfect. What are some ways, imagining you're on our stage here in Tulsa and we're all here listening to you, what are some ways that the Park Church can pray for Ron and Lori?
Well, one way is first thing I did when I got on was I was supposed to appoint a board of directors. So Tom Walden and Jeremy Jackson are on the board of directors. So no matter what we do, Park Plaza's in charge of me. So pray for Tom and Leslie and Jeremy and Jessica. Jessica's working with QuickBooks. So pray for them, because if they do well, I will do well. But they've been great as part of the board. They've got tremendous wisdom. So I'd say pray for them, because they've been given some great wisdom. Pray for me. That I'm a good leader that listens to people, collaborates with people, and just trust that God is working through other people other than me. And so that's important to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pray for our family. We're financially in good shape, but we're out here like everybody else, trying to find a way to navigate without mass shaming or no mass shaming, type of thing.
Yep. Yep.
I think, and financially too, I'm still waiting on unemployment. So we could use prayers for that. I'd like to collect my unemployment. So that would be nice. So it would definitely help. That would be good. But I think pray for the work that we still continue to do with, like you said, domestic violence and the homeless. I mean, that's just work we will always do.
Yeah.
And just the prayers to give us strength to keep working with that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So
Well, and in a few weeks here, we're going to be having a prayer, a Sunday morning prayer, for all of our teachers, and Lori, we'll make sure and include you in that effort. Our missionary teachers are certainly part of that, and under that, who we hope receives the blessings of those. So, Ron, Lori, and guys, thank you so much for giving us a few moments of your day today. We love you guys so much, and thank you for what you're doing. Excited about your new role and your new transition. We're excited for it to get really off and running. I know it's been a struggle, just like we've all been going through, but you guys have the heart of the Lord and the mission of the Lord on your hearts. And so thank you for who you are, for what you're doing. And we're praying God's blessings over you so much. You guys have now been a part of Conversations at the Park. Park family, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Be in prayer for Ron and Lori. And we'll hopefully be in touch with them again really, really soon. You guys have a really blessed day.
Thank you.
We love Park.
Thank you, Kevin. Say hi to your family.
Will do.
Yes, he's guiding me today.